Throughout the many years of video game existence, there have been several disturbing and controversial titles like Bully, Manhunt, and Hatred. However, the game that I'll be discussing today is considered by many to be one of the most controversial video games of all time due to its graphic nature and offensive writing. So today, I will be discussing the development, rise, and eventual fall of Postal 2.
Idiot.
Work on Postal 2 started all the way back in 2002 by the development team running with scissors. Back then they were a very small team that had only developed one game before Postal 2, the original Postal in 1997. The original Postal deserves a whole separate video of its own, considering it might be even more violent and graphic than Postal 2. Running with Scissors wanted Postal 2 to be a quote-unquote sociological experiment, meaning that all of the violence and degeneracy featured in the game would be completely optional and determined by the player. If you want to dismember all the limbs of a police officer, piss on him, and play football with his head, you have the freedom to do so. However, it is also possible to complete the game by being a pacifist. No segment or mission requires you to kill or harm anyone in order to progress. A great example of this is the paycheck errand on Monday. Postal Dude, the protagonist, has to go to the bank to claim his paycheck. However, there is a huge line to get to the clerk. Now, there are two approaches to getting your paycheck. The most common way is slaughtering all the civilians to get to the vault and consequently massacring the police to escape the bank. However, a far easier way is to stand in line. Yup, you can just wait in line and wait for your turn until the clerk gives you the paycheck. And this is what I love about Postal 2. Most missions can be tackled how the player chooses and believes fit. A year later, on April 14th, 2003, Postal 2 is released by UK-based publisher Whiptail Interactive on PC. The game's anti-hero is named Postal Dude.
Definitely some inbreeding going on here.
And yes, that's his full legal name. The story follows Postal Dude as he makes his way through the fictional town of Paradise, Arizona, completing various errands that his wife sent him out to complete. They're all usually fairly simple on the surface, like getting milk or paying a traffic ticket. However, each one of them leads to something going wrong and Postal Dude being involved in a rampage. The game's timeline takes place through 5 days, each having unique but mundane errands that Postal Dude must complete. I won't go through each day's objectives, since you can just imagine the most boring thing you could get up and go do right now instead of watching this video, like returning a book to a library or collecting signatures for your petition.
Would you please sign my petition? You gotta be fucking kidding.
Since it will most likely be in this game. What I can talk about is the social commentary. Each character and group of characters is heavily exaggerated and stereotyped. For example, American hillbillies or anti-violent video game activists that use guns themselves. There are many groups like these in the game that will hunt down and attack you. But the true purpose of these characters is to criticize and make fun of the various aspects of American culture, including consumerism, gun culture, political extremism, and media sensationalism. I do admit, the game is stupid. Like, really stupid. But I appreciate it still having some sort of deeper underlying message and meaning, even though it's mostly overshadowed by the gameplay and stupidity of it. Postal 2's main form of differentiating its gameplay from other games is its freedom. The game has dozens of different weapons, enemy types, map areas, and missions, so that the player would be able to effectively do whatever he wants. You can approach missions and enemies in a multitude of ways and styles, which is one of the main reasons why this game is so damn fun. To demonstrate, there are more than 50 weapons Postal Dude can utilize. These range from the basic assault rifles and pistols to slightly more extreme weapons like napalm launchers and mini nuke launchers. Although I appreciate this range of weaponry, a big issue the game has is its gunplay. No matter how many weapons there are, they all just feel really unsatisfying to use. Take the shotgun. For me personally, this is the most unsatisfying gun in the game. You expect a shotgun to be a beast of a weapon, especially up close, usually decimating an enemy within a few shots up close. Well, in this game, at point blank range, a shotgun to the head takes like 5 bullets to kill. And this is a reoccurring trend with most guns. They're all really bullet spongy. If that gun doesn't one-tap the enemy, which most guns don't, then it will take around 4 to 5 business days for you to kill the enemy. Every combat interaction takes me out of the immersion since I have to stand there like a dumbass while shooting airsoft BBs into the enemy, waiting for them to die. The enemies are also nothing special. Each enemy is basically the same. They usually have the same weapons and all act the same. The only difference between the enemies is their voice lines and their character model. There are several groups that hunt Postal Dude throughout the game for pissing them off, like the American hillbillies and the terrorists. These are all somewhat funny in the beginning, but after a while, they're neither fun to encounter nor fun to fight, since they constantly use the same weapons as the assault rifle or the shotgun. They could have added more enemy types that are harder and more fun to fight. The only actually unique enemy encounter in the game is the crotchy boss fight. Now, I do have to explain who this crotchy thing is, since it would be weird to gloss over. The Postal Wiki explains it best. Crotchy is an animated ballsack mascot based on the famous Crotchy doll and a reoccurring character in the Postal series. Now that we have covered this, we can move back to his fight. On day 4, Thursday, one of Postal Dude's errands is to get a Crotchy doll. However, when he arrives at the mall that sells them, he finds out they are sold out. However, after breaking into their warehouse and stealing one, he is stopped by none other than Crotchy from leaving. In this fight, Crotchy is invulnerable to bullets and can only be damaged by explosives and fire. Added to this, he fires heat-seeking missiles at you, which actually creates a really fun and unique fight. You can finally use all of the absurd launchers that you have proclaimed throughout the game. There could have been more fun fights and encounters like this. However, the devs sadly resorted to farming the same mission cycle of Postal Dude going to do an errand, something going wrong, a group of enemies coming and start shooting at you. Postal Dude has to shoot all of them, and it gets boring and stale very quickly. We also can't gloss over the performance and functionality of the game since it's abysmal. Let me reiterate, this game is jank. I probably crashed like half a dozen times. Loading screens between the areas take like 2 minutes to load and enemies constantly bug and freak out. All of these reasons add to the fact that it's very hard to get immersed in this game. When you're immersed and haven't crashed in a while, you will enter a loading screen that will make you start thinking about all of the useful things you could have done instead of playing this game. I understand that devs didn't put too much effort into polishing the game due to its nature, but this is straight disrespectful to the player. I mean, I still paid money to play this game, so I would like to have a somewhat functioning experience. Although this game is insanely graphic and disturbing, meaning that devs knew it wouldn't get a lot of support from the media or masses, it still is not an excuse to release such a buggy mess. Despite the game being overall pretty shallow in most areas, it definitely surprised me with its environment. On the surface, Paradise seems like any regular small town with a small population. However, pretty quickly into the game, you realize how massive but also weird it is. Paradise is actually really big in size, considering it has places and monuments like a bank, library, mall, asylum, and junkyard. Each place is very different from another, featuring different enemies and NPCs, different objectives and tasks, but most importantly, has many secret areas. One thing I love about Postal 2 is its abundance of explorable areas and secrets. In almost any area or building, you are likely to find secret areas that could have things like guns, ammo, equipment, or just some weird-ass encounters. The most insane secret I found is actually hidden behind Postal Dude's trailer. During one of my playthroughs, I somehow managed to stumble upon a secret sewer entrance that leads to... You won't ever guess the words that will come out of my mouth. A secret underground Arab Taliban base. I mean, at this point it shouldn't even surprise you to hear shit like this. The Taliban base is massive. It took me more than half an hour to get through the dozens of enemies and navigate my way through that maze. Postal has many areas like this, which I absolutely love. Adding to the ambiance and environment is the excellent sound design. The game really knows how to immerse the player into the blistering heat and nature-filled environment. Minuscule things like crickets and birds chirping really made me believe I was walking through a sandy city in Arizona. Depending on what area and building you are in, the ambience largely changes and follows you. Being in almost any building means that you will be constantly followed by the humming of conditioners and fans, which makes sense since we know that we're in Arizona. Another example could be the refrigerators humming in stores, really reminding you where you are. On the topic of stores, these Postal 2 stores have the craziest and most fire music I've ever heard in my life. Postal 2's soundtrack is one of the best of any game, not because it's emotional or some other corny ass reason, but because it's so memorable. Tracks like Map Music and Clinic Music 1 really highlight the fact that one of the most memorable pieces of this game is the music. There are specific tracks that are assigned to specific areas like the mall, clinic, bank, and junkyard, among many others, each having their own tune and song. Tracks like Bank Music are not only fire in themselves, but also add to the ambiance of the setting. If you listen to this track, you can imagine the bank being somewhat desolate and empty due to the echo in the music. It's small details such as this that add personality and charm to the environment. Speaking of personality, we can't just gloss over the single-handedly most important aspect that adds so much life to this game: the characters. The most bizarre moments and interactions come from interactions with the characters. The NPCs were programmed to be hella disrespectful and vile on purpose, which adds to the fun of Postal Dude talking and interacting with them. A big reason as to why these interactions are so funny is due to the voice acting. All the NPCs have high quality but hilarious voice acting.
Let's open his Christmas package early, Billy Joe Bob.
Especially Postal Dude, which creates for funny dialogues and situations. I wanna give a special praise to Rick Hunter, the voice actor of Postal Dude, since he makes Postal Dude seem like such a badass due to his raspy and cold voice. But the actual voice lines themselves make him seem like such an out-of-touch delusional psychopath, which actually adds a lot of depth and layers to him as a character.
Now the flowers will grow. Ah, now you can't say I never gave you anything for Father's Day. Time to head home.
Unsurprisingly, Postal 2 was met with very harsh criticisms and reviews. Many criticized the bland gameplay, setting, graphics, and compatibility. However, most of the outrage was targeted toward the content of the game itself. The quote-unquote glorification of violence and gore was seen by many to be too much, thus leading to the game being banned in multiple countries like New Zealand, Australia, and Germany. It was also frowned upon due to its dark and often immature humor that blended violence and killing into it. By most, it was considered to be a sick, twisted murdering simulator, which I can say is actually not too far from the truth after playing the game. A large reason as to why this game garnered so much attention and hate was due to the time period it was released in. It was released during the infamous period of anti-violent video game frenzy. Politicians like Jack Thompson and thousands of families across the world were concerned with the amount of violent video games being released, like Grand Theft Auto and Manhunt, only to name a few. So guess their reaction when Running with Scissors released a game whose whole purpose was to mock such groups, but also allow the player to mutilate and demolish anything and everything in sight in a variety of ways.
What's that ominous glow in the distance?
Yeah, not too well. Postal 2 has cemented itself as one of the most outrageous and hated on games ever made. However, it did break social norms in the video game industry by heavily relying and playing on the irony and dark humor of today's society. Despite this, honestly, I expected much more from this game. Before even playing it, I heard and read so much about the attention and drama that surrounded it. Turns out, it's mostly just a buggy experience with a few occasional funny moments that come from the absurd writing of the story, characters, and setting, and freedom given to the character. I definitely recommend you play this game if you haven't before, but don't expect much. It doesn't have layers to its story, characters, or even polished mechanics. It's a rough, but overall somewhat fun experience. Thank you for watching today's video. Quick editor's note before I finish this video and before you finish watching it. I'm rewatching this whole video and I kind of realized that I really expected too much from this game while going into it, since I'm watching it and I kind of felt that I was shitting on it too much, considering it is a game that is not made to be great and not made to have a great story and develop characters and things like that. So I'm not necessarily shitting on this game because I did enjoy it a lot. I have over 20 hours in this game and I did like it, but I kind of realized that I shit on it a bit too much in this video, so just know that I actually like this game and I don't despise it with all my heart. So again, thank you for watching today's video and yeah, have a nice day.